Dean of Pennsylvania. She's a member of the House Foreign Affairs and Appropriations Committees. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Good to be with you, Paola.
So you, along with some of your Democratic colleagues, have actually called for Pete Hegseth and Mike Waltz to resign. And as you probably heard in the introduction, there's new reporting that is alluding to this idea that President Trump himself has privately expressed frustrations over the group chat. So do you see any scenario in which some type of political pressure leads to either one of them actually stepping down?
Yes, I certainly do. I think it's going to be on Democrats, of course, to continue to do this. But I think more importantly, what I want to call out is the appalling silence of my Republican colleagues. They need to call this out. It is one thing, and I have called for the resignation of both. Mike Waltz, by setting up the Signal chat and inviting in the journalists, that was beyond clumsy and very, very dangerous. And then, of course, they double down and say they actually didn't do that, and he doesn't know how. Mr. Goldberg wound up sucked into the conversation. But take a look at what the Secretary of Defense did. It is even more dangerous. Once they were participating in the Signal chat, to then dump in there this secret, important, classified military information that puts our military at risk, as well as our intelligence officers at risk, not to mention our reputation around the world. That is the more serious set of errors, the sharing of classified, important information on a Signal chat that could have been hacked. And we don't know if it wasn't. That's something that we must investigate. So I call upon the Republican members of the House and Senate. I call them to stop their appalling silence.
I was asking Congresswoman, do you think that's possible at this point? I think one of the things that is happening is that internally, people are expressing concerns. Publicly, it's a different story. Do you sense that internally some of your Republican colleagues may actually feel the concern that you're expressing right now?
I think last week was beyond the pale. And we did see some nervousness, not loud nervousness, but nervousness among Republican colleagues with the number of chaotic things going on. You saw the week got ahead of this administration, the end of the week ending with such lousy economic numbers. Let's remember what this president ran on and was supposed to be doing, turning around the cost of living for Americans, making this place a safer place. Neither of those things is happening. And in fact, the very opposite is happening. I think about the tariffs that are coming, maybe coming Wednesday. But we have reporting that shows that even inside the White House, it's so chaotic, they don't know what tariffs will or will not be imposed upon which countries, at what rates. This alleged good businessman realizes one thing. Businesses need certainty. This is chaos. Businesses cannot survive in this.
Let me ask you about Tulsi Gabbard very briefly, because she's someone that you actually said that was a very unserious pick and a very dangerous one. You said this a couple months ago. Do you think that Tulsi Gabbard deliberately misled the House Intelligence Committee during this week's hearing about the group chat?
I think it should be investigated. Her answers were so hollow, inconsistent, not remembering what happened a couple of days ago. My goodness. Somebody better check into that. So I thought that both Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth were very unserious choices. And they are showing in their brief tenure that they are very unserious. And I'm very disappointed with the vice president and others who struggle to answer the question of whether or not this was just a really serious set of blunders with whataboutism. What about Biden? What about Abbeygate? Abbeygate was a sad disaster, but it shows a weakness of mind for this vice president and others in this cabinet. Republican members that I have heard on TV immediately go from Signalgate to what about Benghazi? What about this? That shows a weakness of mind, a weakness of thought.
What happens, Congresswoman, if they don't actually answer the questions, right? Like, what happens if these officials aren't held accountable? What danger do you see there?
Well, I think we have a few things we can do. You see where we are in courts, 150 lawsuits or more, and getting some good results as a result of that. We will, in Congress, even in the minority, be able to hold them to account. We will have public hearings investigating what happened here. I also know that citizens, my constituents, are calling me to say this is completely beyond the pale. It is unacceptable. They're rising up. I'm so inspired by their courage around what is going on with this administration and the shift toward autocracy, which we know we are watching. But finally, I do think it is up to the Republicans. They see the damage that this administration is doing in very short order. So I believe we will get accountability from this. Sadly, in the meantime, a tremendous number of people are going to be hurt. And very importantly, our reputation around the world is being hurt. I don't know if you had the chance to read the Hillary Clinton op-ed this week. It was very, very good. And she said, in a complex and dangerous world, it is not just enough to be strong. And I think she's talking about a very different kind of strength than what we're seeing demonstrated by this administration. But you must also be smart. You must put together diplomacy and military activities and development activities around the world. We are seeing an administration incapable of any of those talents.
Since you mentioned Secretary Clinton's op-ed, from where you stand, how much credibility are we losing with our allies in the international community?
I have the privilege of serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee and now this Congress on the Appropriations Committee. I'm delighted for both of those pieces of my work. I've had the chance to meet with foreign leaders around the world, even before Mr. Trump came back into office and following his first administration. The concern was very real, obviously around Ukraine and the Middle East. The concern is now even graver. We saw after that shameful performance February the 28th in the Oval Office, the bullying, the two-bit street bullying by the vice president and the president of a president at war, President Zelensky, 3 years at war. What happened? The world, Europe, immediately just circled the wagons and said, I guess we have to go it without the importance of the United States. We have been called the indispensable nation. This administration is doing extraordinary harm to that important place in the world, that important place with NATO and the UN. I'm very fearful of what's going on. I believe we will get through it, and we can turn this around, but serious harm is being done globally.
All eyes are certainly on us at this point. Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, thank you so much for taking the time tonight.